it's delicious.
Thank you.
Can I have another one?
Thank you.
Thank you for indulging my curiosity. And thank you for lunch. We just had lunch in the East and Southeast Asian Community Centre, cooked by the wonderful Jenny. It was gorgeous. And now we're just sitting outside this lovely garden having a chat. It's a coffee.
Please, this is my 4th coffee of the day.
Black.
Is this
black as the night.
Is this brewed by your own fair hands?
It is, yeah.
Oh, wow.
It's a long black.
Oh, fantastic.
So Jenny, what is the sweetest thing that someone's done for you lately?
Oh my gosh, that's so sweet. As a question. So, the sweetest person in my life is probably my boyfriend. And he's done so many sweet things for me in the past couple of years. He will hand carve little wooden animals and give them to me when I'm really stressed. He's done little watercolours of things that remind him of me.
Oh wow!
Yeah, he's really sweet. So that's nice.
Where'd you find him?
In a sauna, weirdly.
Is that where you find nice,
nice young men?
sensitive
Yeah,
young men?
yeah.
Nice one.
It was at my yoga studio, and we were both using the sauna. So.
Oh, awesome!
It's a real meet cute.
I can't remove us from the context of we're sitting in the back garden of the East and Southeast Asian Community Centre. Tell me about what it's like working here, contributing here. Tell me a bit about the important function that a place like this has in London.
Totally. This place is like a second home to me, and I've been volunteering with this charity for 8 years now, and some of you may not know that our old location, which we moved from just over a year ago, is over in London Fields. Mm-hmm. So this location is pretty new for us. And
what was the move like, by the way? Because for I guess the community centre, from what I've seen today, is frequented by a lot of more elderly figures, some younger figures, but what was it like for them having to change?
It was a huge transition. It was a transition in so many senses. You know, it's a huge physical move from a very small centre, an institution, as it were, into this place which took 5 years to kind of renovate and fundraise for. And you have to be quite sensitive, because I think a lot of the elders were reticent about coming to this new place because it's not necessarily near them. Even things like transport links and whether there's parking available all affect their decision to come. So we've had to do it in a kind of softly approach as well, and at the same time build a new community base and attract some of the locals in Dalston to come and enjoy this place. But yeah, I started volunteering 8 years ago, and essentially I've been on my own journey as a British-born Chinese person to connect with my own heritage. I grew up in Hong Kong until the age of 11.
Yeah.
But I moved here at such a young age, and I think when you're multicultural diaspora, you're juggling so many identities, and the main priority when you're young is to just fit in, right? And for me that was like, okay, fit into British society, British culture. And along the way I guess I lost a sense of where I came from and where I grew up. But I've always had a link to Hong Kong, you know, where I grew up and where my dad still lived. And it was only in my early 30s that I felt like, do you know what, I really need to reconnect with that thing that makes me Chinese. And I guess the easy thing, especially for a lot of diasporas, the first thing is food. And I found that whenever I went back to Hong Kong, whatever I ate when I was there, it just felt so good. And it felt like it really nourished me, not just in a physical sense, but in like a spiritual sense. And that's when I started teaching myself about Chinese cuisine and Chinese food history. And it wasn't just about, you know, learning recipes and learning techniques. Very quickly I realized, like, I'm actually interested in the people around me who are also somehow connected to their heritage using food as this tool. And that's when I started building community one by one. You know, I started online, I started interviewing people around the world who were Chinese diaspora, who were active in food. But it was the moment I walked into the old centre 8 years ago and thought, do you know what, I think this is a place where I could host my own meetups and meet other people like me.
That's really cool.
I spoke to the centre manager at the time and I said, will you lend me your space for like an hour or 2 hours every month? And he was like, sure, go ahead, because what he saw was in me was like a young, hungry,
blood, yeah.
young, hungry, but also like really passionate person. And at the time, most users of that centre were probably 50 and above.
Yeah.
And he saw that, you know, if you don't provide something that serves the next generation, that centre is going to die out, because as the people pass on, so will the purpose. And I remember my first event, it was a potluck, and I still host that potluck. 9 people turned up, and I was so stoked. I was like, wow, I know 9 people who actually want to connect.
Go on this journey
Yeah,
with you,
go on
yeah.
this journey with me. And of course, from that 9, it's grown into literally hundreds, if not thousands, of people who I'm sort of connected to,
Yeah.
have met in person, and now have touched with my book, you know, and with a lot of the stuff I do here,
Yeah,
even if I
wow.
haven't physically met them.
That's amazing. Your book, The A to Z, an A to Z
Yes.
of Chinese food.
Correct.
An A to Z of Chinese food, recipes not included. Question I have is, being part of a diaspora, you have the luxury of picking and choosing what you keep and what you leave behind. And one of the questions that I'm intrigued by is, there are things that are non-essential to human survival, but which we hang on to. Through your work, what's one thing that you can't let go of?
Well, you know what, it's going to sound cheesy, but I think it is this sense of community. And one of the things I touched on in the book is that, you know, I think in modern society we think of the human as in relationship essentials as like having family, having friends, having colleagues, having lovers, boyfriends, girlfriends, wives, partners, whatever. But we forget about community. And I guess back in the olden days when we were a more religious society, church served that. And what I found is that, you know, and also we're now a kind of agnostic atheist society, we've kind of lost that sense of community. There's a lot of community washing now as well, you know, we use that word a lot.
Yeah.
But for me, it is not so much about, it, in a sense, it can be this chosen family, but it's also about getting together with like-minded people and connecting over a shared sense of values that you really have to stick by, and understanding that these people, you may not actually like them, you may not agree with all their views, but if you are all on the same page about these values and what you're fighting for, then you sort of have a contract, you know, like a community contract. And that's what being part of this community centre is. And I think I show up even on days where I get, you know, like I'm so tired and why do I do this? But it's so worth it in the end, because also showing up here and, you know, helping everyone else to build this room has brought me real friends too. And those are my chosen family.
That's
you know.
amazing. I guess it's probably time to break out a snack. And you guys won't know until now, I suppose, that we worked together on a chocolate bar. I really wanted to celebrate Chinese New Year, Lunar New Year, and I asked Jenny if she would help guide my, what's the word? Yeah, guide the flavor pairing. And I had an idea that I really wanted to use black sesame. And
I love that colour.
isn't it nice?
Stunning. It's like pewter.
Cement.
Cement? Edible cement.
Yeah, and it's got this beautiful horse, which came out way more beautifully than I thought it might.
Because it is Year of the Horse.
Yes, Year of the Horse, exactly. I'm a Year of the Horse.
Oh my
Helen
gosh.
Go is a Year of the Horse. So yeah, I wanted to use black sesame and I needed an accent. And you gave me these beautiful insights into some of the customs and traditions around Chinese New Year. And I chose to pair it with candied tangerine. And this is the first time that Jenny is tasting the finished product. So maybe I'll just flip it out.
Please do.
And we'll
It
break
looks so unreal. Like
Yeah?
it's fake.
It's just, this is actually a 3D print. It's not edible.
Oh my gosh. That colour is stunning.
Yeah, so that's our candied
Thank you
tangerine
so much.
and black sesame. And it's kind of like
Yeah, I
roasted
can
puff
see it.
brown rice crunch.
Cheers. Happy New
Cheers.
Year.
Happy Chinese New Year. Happy Lunar New Year.
I will. Now I'm getting the roasted sesame. Wow. It's really light.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, the biggest question is how are the sweetness levels?
Not too sweet. The highest compliment!
Oh, that's really easy to eat.
The first thing I get is a tangerine, and then you get the nuttiness at the back.
The microphones are probably getting an ASMR overload. So thank you for your contribution to that. And 10% of proceeds are coming back to the centre as a little way of contributing to what you're doing here and the amazing role that I think a community centre like this has, especially within diasporic communities. Speaking of baked goods, I have this really interesting, I guess, observation. Obviously, Asians love desserts that are not too sweet. And I hope I'm not being offensive to any communities when I say Asians, because where I grew up in Australia, we'd refer to as like Koreans, Japanese, Chinese as
Fair
Asians. But I understand in the UK there is a distinction.
There is, because Asians here tends to refer to South Asians and Desis. So we, the formerly known as Orientals, had to come up with our own label, I guess, which is East and Southeast Asian. Because as we know, Asia is huge.
Yeah, huge and diverse. In East and Southeast Asian culture, I find that the baked goods tend to be sweeter than what we might expect in the West.
Oh, yeah.
Yet, the desserts are famously less sweet. Tell me a bit about sweetness and what that means in East and Southeast Asian culture.
I love this question. So what you're referring to here is baked goods are kind of quite modern phenomenon, and that comes from this Western influence of baking, right? And our more traditional desserts, almost like the dessert soup that you had today, they often use plants. So we'll use dried fruits, fresh fruits, even root vegetables. Sugar historically might have come from something like rock sugar, which is what we use today. Even dates as a sweetener. And if you look at a lot of sweets, they actually come from the Middle East. So the history of Chinese sweets comes from the Silk Roads.
Yeah, wow.
A lot of stuff is like from Persia, you know. So all that like walnut, jujube, you know, date combination.
Wow.
And the other thing about our desserts is that often we use things like beans, you know, vegetables, which can be quite challenging for Westerners when they're trying like a mung bean soup, for example, that has tangerine peel and some sugar in it.
Yeah.
And then you get obviously the baked goods, and I see baked goods as this canvas for very talented East or Southeast Asian bakers to like just have fun and go wild. And in a way, that's their creative outlet.
Yeah. But with restraint.
With restraint, but sometimes it's crazy. Like, you know, I think maybe you've been to Thailand, and like in Thailand, they go crazy with baked goods. They'll take a concept and then like just, you know, amplify it and go times 100. There's always this pairing of like sweet and umami. Yeah. So even as you say, there's like they're very sweet, and the breads are sweet, and the dough is sweet.
Yeah, as in like breads are on the sweeter side, but the desserts are what you like less sweet by Western standards, I guess.
Absolutely, and you know, I love that it's all on a spectrum.
Yes, that's a good word.
So even this, you know, like the sausage buns are sweet, right?
Yes. So there's like almost a bit more of a like sweet influence in savoury, and the other way around.
Totally.
Yeah, I guess it's a more balanced approach.
It makes sense, and balance is a fundamental philosophy that guides Chinese cooking. Traditionally, you have the 5 flavors, and if you go back in, even in philosophical texts, you know, thousands of years saying, you know, you have to balance the 5 flavors, and can't be too sweet, too sour, too whatever. What
is an incorrect assumption that people might have about Chinese culture?
About Chinese culture in general.
Or Chinese food, you can, however you want to be. What's something that people just get wrong?
There's one that I point out on page 3 in my book. Yeah. One of the most famed restaurants in London is Wong Kei. Many foodies have eaten at Wong Kei, and they have these memories of Wong Kei, you know, and a lot of it is not just about the cheap, delicious, sort of home-style cooking that you get, but it's about the service. And historically, famously, the waiters at Wong Kei are rude. Yes, historically they're rude, but there's also a sort of brusqueness to their service.
An efficiency.
And you have to understand that in order to turn around tables and give you dishes that are still under £10 in Chinatown, in the centre of town, you have to be efficient, right? And there's almost come to be this romanticization and fetishization of Chinese service as, well, if the waiters are rude to you, then it's
the food
authentic. And this is so off the mark because Chinese hospitality is unparalleled. If it's something you don't understand, people assume that, well, that's not my version of hospitality, right?
Okay.
But
Well, there's the other one. There's the other one. Sorry. Whereas if you see a Chinese kid cooking working in the restaurant, you know the
in the
food's gonna
takeaway.
be fire.
Yeah, and so
Sorry.
exactly, and I'm really fascinated by how dominant society, Western society, consume Chinese culture through, our major exports, which in this country is the catering trade, and for many people this was their only interaction with Chinese people is, the takeaway, the restaurant. And it's a very quick, easy way to dehumanize a whole group of people, right?
Yeah, I get
And
that.
the thing is, if you go to a Chinese person's house, you will experience incredible hospitality, and there's all these rules around etiquette and, for example, gifting and deference. And when you're sitting around a table, like there's this whole beautiful dance, a choreography of etiquette that I'm a huge stickler for.
Is there? I imagine in a place like this, you have a young versus old struggle. Tell me about how that plays out on a daily basis. Does it play out, or does there seem to be this level of understanding?
Oh my God, it plays out all the time.
Oh yeah.
I'm sort of in the middle, because I'm 40, so I'm in that middle generation where we're patching things between the young kids who are really just at the start of their journey of, expressing themselves as diasporic Asians, and then you got the old guard, the old brigade, who have a completely different history in this country, different experience, and that's not even to mention things like class and migration patterns. And I'll give you an example. Like for me to earn the respect of the people here, the elders, when I'm cooking for them, has taken so long. And I really wanted to learn to cook because my parents didn't teach me to cook. I'm not traditional or old school. I didn't come from catering. I came from a completely different background. My mom wasn't a particularly good cook. It wasn't that important in our family. There were no recipes to pass on, but I wanted to learn this old school way. So it took me a few years to actually earn their trust and to be able to volunteer in the kitchen, and then eventually to actually earn some money as an assistant to the head chef. And now, after a few years, she can trust me to run the kitchen when she's away. But going around after service and being like, how's the food? They're like, it's fine, it's okay. And occasionally you get and there's this thing with the elders, especially like the aunties, they do so much and they never stop working. And what we really want is for the aunties to just relax and let go and trust us, we got this. You don't have to wash up all the time and clean up after everyone and make sure that everyone's fed before you. And that's kind of linked as well to really old school patriarchal ideas as well. It breaks my heart when I often see all the aunties doing all the work, and then sometimes the uncles are just sitting around doing nothing.
That is something that I think culturally, I come from a Middle Eastern background, Lebanese heritage, born and raised in Australia. Nearly everything that you've said, I'm like, yep, that checks out. With my experience as well, I think a place like this must have been so important for early migrants, the older generation coming in from diametrically opposed backgrounds, cultures, and it almost being their the gateway to life here.
Totally, because...
And how that must have changed over the years as well.
Yeah, a lot of these elders, sometimes I chat to them, and after 50 years in this country, their English is still not very good. And it's not that they didn't want to learn English, but they had such lives of hardship where they, for example, working in the takeaway 24/7 or working in, for a lot of the Vietnamese working in nail salons, and they didn't have the chance, to learn and integrate and assimilate in the way that we did. And that can really impact your confidence, right? And your entire integration into society. So to have a place here where you can just speak your own language, speak to other people, but also eat the food that is a taste of home for you is so important. And not many people know this, but the center itself, the luncheon club service was started by aunties. It was started by the housewives of Chinese takeaway owners while their husbands were working long, long hours. They decided that they were going to cook meals for
Yeah,
all
wow.
the Chinese immigrants who needed socialization, who needed friendship, right? And they went to the council and got money to fund this lunch club.
That's amazing.
And it's been going for 40 years.
That's incredible. That's really, really inspirational. What dish or ingredient feels heavier than what most people would know?
Feels heavier. What's
Yeah,
that?
like which, might have come from a tradition of hardship.
Yeah, I've got one. I think it's got to be something like anything preserved, like salted fish.
Yeah.
Salted fish is a very southern Chinese ingredient. It's very typical of like Hakka people. Hakkas have often, they're not an ethnicity, but they're a group of Han Chinese, and sometimes they're nicknamed like the Jews of China because there's like a huge diaspora of Hakka, and they've often been like persecuted within China by the Chinese, and as a result they've immigrated far and wide across the globe.
Oh, wow.
But the Hakka are very resilient, and they're very resourceful, so they use a lot of fermentation and preservation techniques. And in southern China, which is on the coastline, I think salting fish to preserve it not only preserves fish but adds flavor. Often I think there's this romanticization of preserved foods or fermentation as like, it's purely functional. It's just, it's something that, makes things last longer. But actually, we can also appreciate preserved foods for the flavor, for the culinary contribution, right? So salted fish adds incredible depth and umami to any dish where you incorporate it. So often it's minced up with like minced pork and then steamed into patties. You can have salted fish fried rice. You can have
So it becomes a flavor on its own.
Exactly, and it's like incredibly deep, incredibly savory, very satisfying,
nice.
and adds salt. So it can make a small dish feel and taste fuller. And I think we should incorporate it in desserts.
Yeah, I'd try that. Are there any foods that exist as symbols? There are so many things in Chinese culture that are very, I guess, rooted in symbology and symbols and meaning.
Yeah.
Tell me a bit about that. Are there any, I guess?
When in doubt, round things.
Okay.
So anything round is always rolled out, pun intended, at
see.
festivals to represent unity, togetherness.
Yeah.
So Lunar New Year is coming up. We'll have anything like a sticky rice dessert. So actually at winter
because
we
the
have,
rice is round, or
it represents like a family, for example.
Okay.
So actually at winter we'll have tong yun, which is the glutinous rice balls, right? This is a very nice one. Have you ever had mooncakes?
Mm-hmm.
So that's a harvest festival tradition.
Yeah.
And mooncakes, traditional
Is that, like,
ones.
mid-autumn?
Yes,
Yeah.
mid-autumn is when the moon is brightest and fullest in the year. And it also celebrates the harvest. So we will always incorporate a salted egg yolk into mooncakes. And that salted egg represents the moon.
Yeah, amazing.
And once again, you have this like unexpected umami, sort of like, wow, it's just so intense, the flavor of salted egg. Richness, abundance.
That's awesome. That's really cool. Any questions for me?
Oh my God, yeah. How did you enjoy your first time at the centre?
Oh, it was beautiful. I think I almost wish something like this existed for more communities. Maybe they do and I'm unaware. But it's a beautiful way of reconnecting with one's culture, with preserving one's culture. I really want to learn Mahjong. I was just amazed at how quickly they play. I still don't understand what they were doing, but it was just incredible to watch. Thank you for a beautiful lunch. It was gorgeous.
Thank you for coming, and this was such a pleasure to...
I think people are sleeping on the lunch service here.
Yeah, but we need to get more people in.
Yeah, come on guys, get down and support.
It's a hidden gem.
It's a hidden gem. Come with me. Oh, sorry, Riyadh. Have you... Oh yeah, sorry.
Ooh, okay.
Oh, and Helen has a question for you.
Oh.
What would you cook for the King of England?
Oh my gosh.
Because we had our chat in
Yeah.
Kensington, near Kensington Palace, and that just popped into mind.
That's such intense pressure, but I would cook my favourite dish that I cook at least once a week and is my taste of home, steamed fish.
Steamed fish?
Yes.
All right, any type of fish or?
Cantonese style steamed fish. I would get up super early and try and go to Billingsgate, see what's available, what's fresh, and
How do you serve it?
well, the Cantonese way of steaming fish is to let the flavour of the fish sing.
Oh.
So you'd just steam it with some like ginger, shredded spring onion, and once it's perfectly steamed, you just, with a bit of seasoned soy sauce that has a bit of salt, sugar, Shaoxing wine in it, and then you explode the flavour with very hot oil very quickly, and it's
wow.
all done in 15 minutes.
You know, I think I made something like that, but with tofu last night.
Yes,
It was even
sounds
steamed.
like it.
But what struck me was the inclusion of sugar in the recipe, and I
Always.
think so many, even when I prepare Thai recipes,
Yeah.
there's always like, not just a teaspoon, it's like 3 tablespoons. Tell me about that, because I think that's really interesting.
That's Thai style, but the Cantonese way of cooking, and again, you know,
Even
regional.
in Japan with like, I think there was
Yeah.
like honey or
But
some other things that,
It makes so much sense,
Yeah.
you know, because you have something salty, but you're gonna temper it with sugar, and in the cooking process also, you know, you get that slight caramelization, and again, different functions in Chinese cooking. It's not just for sweetness; it's sometimes for color, for caramelization, but it's always with other, you know, with the salt and
Yeah.
with that savory element.
amazing. What question do you have for the next person that I talk to?
Could it be any question?
Any question?
Yeah. You've just invented 2026 most viral ice cream flavor. What is it?
Very good. Thank you so much, Jenny.
Thank you,
It's been
Phil.
such a treat. So good. Thank you.